I call meeting order. Please rise and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Hill,
Here.
trustee Happy. Here. Trustee Ashley.
Here.
Treasurer Anderson.
Here.
Clerk Squire. Here.
Thank you. First off, thank you. It's good to see everybody this morning. Thanks for making the trek out. And for new board members, it's good to see everybody in seats at 9 o'clock and here ready to do the town business. So number one on your agenda is the Metro Actuary Capital Communication Request for support of the grant application of bilateral permit. Michelle, you just received a phone call from him. He's running late because of the weather.
Yeah.
So we'll move right on to number two. Jason, can you come on up and should build and zoning updates in brief?
Morning, everybody.
Okay.
Okay, so we issued 4 building permits, 8 electrical permits, 13 mechanical permits, 2 plumbing permits. We also had 3 land use permits. For a total of $4,131 this month. We are, I don't believe we have anything on the agenda or anything pertinent upcoming for the planning commission or ZBA at this time. So we do have a potential one coming up the planning commission for a cell tower, but don't have anything yet.
Okay, so nothing significant to report from there. Yeah. Board members, Mary Jo, any questions? Jace?
No, thanks.
Joe?
No, thank you.
Yep. I should say, I don't know, Jim, I wondered too, I don't know. I'm gonna make eye contact, Jim, but anything there, obviously the board's got to report, Jason, thank you for that, you answered.
No, I'm fine.
I have nothing else, Jason, that's great, thank you as always, you can get us.
Thank you.
Chief Krasinski?
Morning.
Morning.
I know what it's like. We got 2 Johns over there, so you got 2 Jims, but I'd like to welcome both Jims to the board. Good to have you. Starting off, just give a quick update on our accreditation process that we're on. Julie Hill, our administrative clerk, also accreditation manager, has completed chapter 1, is now working on chapter 2, which is the personnel chapter. And just for the new board members, the accreditation process is basically certifying the police department in the state, showing that we are doing everything by the book with policies and procedures. It's a 3-year long process. There's 128 standards total. Out of those 128, we have to complete 115 of them. Some of the categories we don't fall into, because we don't have a jail or a canine dog, and we're not like a college campus. So that's why the standards are a little bit less for us. But Julie's been doing a great job on it, and just wanted to give you an update on that. So do you guys have any questions about that process at all, or?
I only have one. Are you targeted yet for your onsite at all? Or you got a plan?
We were originally kind of thinking maybe the spring of 2025 for a mock assessment. Hopefully this winter Julie can continue to plow through that. We can stay on that target, but even if we did hit that deadline, we'd be way ahead of schedule, I think.
Okay.
So, any other questions? Okay, quick update on the new 2025 Ford Police Interceptor patrol car that we received. It has been decaled. I reached out to Procom and they took all the parts to outfit it now. However, they're still a couple weeks out to get it scheduled. So looking probably next week and a half, 2 weeks to get that in and up and running, so that's coming along. Quick update on Officer Cole, he's been back to work now for a little over a month since his accident. Seems to be back in the groove and doing well. Hasn't really had any issues. He did say that he had an appointment yesterday. And they kind of adjusted his medication and stuff. He's on a preventative med for his migraines and stuff, but he seems to be doing fine. And I'm glad to have him back. And then updated on Officer Stahersky. He's had his surgery, and I want to thank Trustee Appy for reaching out to him. I think you were a big help to him, and I appreciate that. And he seems to be doing a lot better now. And he's looking at probably coming back next week on a restricted duty basis, provide me with a doctor's note saying that he can do that. And we have our court set aside that he was working on those before he left, which we have over 1,500 of them to get into our RMS system. So we're planning on him working on those while he's here. And then he'll have to go back for his reversal surgery. And then that'll be a recovery process of a month or so. So we're looking at him to come back full time, probably end of January, beginning of February. And he's excited to come back, and we're looking forward to having him back and be done with all of it. So, but thank you again, Mr. Young. The next thing, I just wanted to follow up with the board on the lot zone boxes that I had presented last month to Gene Thompson, Baltimore Prevention. If you had given any thought, if you wanted to have one in the building or on the building, outside of the building. And for the new board members, what that is Loxone is a reversal drug for opioids. And Baltimore Prevention had contacted me if the PD or the township office wanted to put a box on the outside of the building or inside the building for people to come, and they could just come and get that naloxone if they wanted it, they have on hand. Myself at the PD, I've chosen not to have them put up just because we have it on hand there if somebody needs it. And is having an episode. And at the last meeting, it was kind of discussed that, you know, the same thing down at the fire department, they have it down there if somebody needed it in that event. So I was just looking for your guys' thoughts so I could reach back out to her and let her know what you guys decided.
How big is this box and where might it go, and inside the lobby here someplace so people could come in and take what they want?
Yeah, I don't have the exact dimensions on the box, but I would think it would be something like that. The only responsibility is somebody would have to monitor it to make sure if it's getting low, you would have to contact her or whoever the contact person is to get more and replenish that box. She said it could be mounted inside or outside. So,
You know, if we have any other in the counties and.
not that I'm aware of.
I think, wasn't the library looking into it? Anyway, I love I am very much in favor of doing this. So, only because I have a nephew that was 25 years old, and if it would have been available, he'd be here today, he's not.
Right.
And I would like it outside personally, because we gotta go into the police station, you gotta go into the fire department, this is outside. It's kind of more of an emergency.
I think the thought behind it is more that I don't think an emergency situation, I think it's more if somebody just wanted to have it on hand
Right.
for that case, they can
Right.
just come and get it, you know.
Yeah, but even the thought, like my daughter, it's out in my car, I forgot to bring the sample. She got one down at the Farmington Farmington Hills Library. Cause they have it outside, and the instructions are, I could go get it. I have to bring it in, it's right there. The instructions very easy, 1, 2, 3. Look up their nose, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's kind of idiot proof, and it even if somebody was up in the park out here or something, or, you know, just.
It's all covered by good Samaritan law for administration, but yeah, I think it's more meant to, it's here, if you live with someone that takes opiates of any nature, that it might be available, you can come grab a couple of them and, have them on hand at home, not so much, somebody wandering in.
Right, both, yeah, both, yeah.
We can't walk into the PD to get it, we can't walk into the fire department to get it, this would be a spot we could just walk a single source point, and this would.
Right. Which I think it's not even available at drugstores now, even.
That's what I'm saying. If you have someone who is on medications that could be at risk for that type of thing, they'll prescribe it right to you from the pharmacy. So what you're looking at, the real is you're looking at helping people who aren't going to reach out for that kind of help, who are abusing drugs.
Mhm.
Again, it's somebody who doesn't want to go into the police station, who doesn't want to go into the fire department. I mean, that is the reality. To pretend it doesn't happen in our area, would be foolish.
And the downside is. You can downside liabilities or.
Liability would be a concern, but
You got the good smart laws and those are.
Good Samaritan law covers all of this, because I'm actually an instructor for Narcan, and it only affects this particular neuron in your brain that interrupts the process of the exchange from opioids to the brain neuron center. The minute you, shall we say, administer one of those, it interrupts that and literally takes them out of that process. And recovery is the only, tough part about it. We've given it before, and it can sometimes become habit coming out. But we're not talking about us. We have public service here right in the building, like fire department, not. I wouldn't envision that.
No.
At the end of the day, it's just, it's been accepted, doesn't take a prescription. It's a giveaway program, in reaction to the opioid crisis that we were experiencing a few years back, where we were losing lots and lots and lots of people. And now the AMA and all the rest of them now starting to be very cognizant about narcotic prescriptions. So the real question here is, folks, it doesn't take board action. Does anybody want to pursue this? The only maintenance it has, Jim, just so you know, is somebody's got to look at the box to see if there's some.
I guess one question I got, is this a spray? Is this what-
Yes, they
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Okay, so putting it outside, would that be tolerant to the cold and the heat?
I think that might be a problem.
Yeah, I think.
I thought this, if you wanna do this, and I agree, I don't think we need to make a board action on it. But it could be at the discretion of the supervisor or police chief.
Right.
Put a sign right there and have them available and walk in and get it, but leaving it outside, this is Michigan, we got.
Well, you look at the weather out there right now. It would be close.
Out of that is just, somebody takes them all, or some kids get into it, and, hooligans.
Yeah,
And you just run into, I think it'd be easier just have it indoors and available and not worry about putting a box on the side.
Mhm.
That's just my thought.
Okay. You, by getting a consensus, y'all want me to work with the chief to get that? Yes. It doesn't hurt more action. Okay.
okay, I'll follow up with her.
Work with you, Jody.
Sounds good, thank you. Next item there, we continue to look for somebody to fill the vacant position that we have with Sergeant Librarian's retirement coming up. Yeah, number 11. We've only received 2 applications. We started a background on both of them. It seems that we're running into issues that kind of washes the candidates out to even move forward. So it's slim pickings out there, but we're going to be short 2 officers, with Officer Gerrish still on medical, and then Sergeant Librarian retiring up here in a couple of weeks. But we're making do, and we'll continue to make do, and we continue to look for somebody. We did come up with a nice kind of flashy flyer explaining that we are hiring, you've probably seen on our Facebook page and stuff, but we did get that to some major schools such as Ferris, Delta, SVSU, Lake State, Northern. Kirtland, Alpena Community College, CMU, and Mid-Michigan Community College. So we're hoping that, gets spread around there and we get some people contacting us for that. And then,
In the audience, if you got any family members that just are so inclined or whatever, there's positions here, and there's positions about everywhere up here in this, at least 6-7 county area, we're severely limited.
yep, if they're certified, that's great, but if they need to go through the academy, we'll be able to sponsor them through that, Nicole's sponsorship program that they have, so send them our way, appreciate it. Then moving down to number 19, just some community stuff going on. Our CERT and police department will be assisting with Christmas in the village this weekend. And our sheriff's department with the parade, reindeer run, and the arrival of the Santa train. Like I said, that's this weekend, December 7th, on the village. And, number 28, we've gotten the applications back for our shop with a cop program. And we normally select 7 to 8 families. This year we actually selected 9. A lot of the families were kind of just parents and 1 child or 2 child, so we were able to do a little bit more. Last year we only had 5, I think. We didn't really spend a whole lot of money on that program. So this year we were able to do a little bit more for the families. I think we had a total of 16 applications, and some of them repeats or incomplete applications. Or we picked the 9 best out that we felt that needed it. Number 29 there. Myself, Lieutenant Labani, and Officer Ellis assisted the Messiah Lutheran Church with their delivering of the 20 Thanksgiving dinners just before Thanksgiving to families in need in Roscommon County. And we do that every year, and they sure appreciate the help. And then the last item there, the Kids Helping Kids, Foster Kids Christmas Program, shopping was completed and the gifts have been wrapped. So they'll get those gifts in plenty of time for Christmas. So
How many fostered this year?
I think it was around 18. No, I think it was 50 or 60.
50 or 60?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I appreciate you continuing that along. You know, I really know that Dave worked in that, and with another community member here, so I appreciate the police department picking it up and continuing.
Yeah, no problem. And then just a couple of upcoming events that we have. Like I said, we're starting our shop at the cop, but we have our wrapping party on the 16th at 5 p.m. on Monday at the PD. So if anybody wants to come and participate in that, they're more than welcome.
Okay, they're good. Board members, Mary Jo?
Nope, nothing, thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, appreciate that. Chief Bishop?
Morning. Get the highlights of the report here. Moving on down the line, all the calls that we go on and all that, past that into the training section. I'd like to make note of all the activities the department's been doing with the community education. We've been active with CTE, core CTE, the technical education part of that, and we've been doing that for a couple of years now. But we've really ramped up our CPR training, first aid training, and stop and bleed training in the community. We've also done BLS CPR for businesses such as Northport Physical Therapy, and we get reimbursed for those. We bill those agencies for that. So for that there, but for schools, we do that as a community service. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. And on that. If you look down into committees and meetings, we've been working with our billing agency, Acumed and MC, which is our ambulance billing company. They've just been bought out by another company in this last few months, so we've been working with them to switch over to their website application, making sure that we can communicate with them well. So we've had several meetings with them over the last couple months to work through that process. Department activities, so the countywide state-sponsored firefighter 1 and 2 class is being held here. Actually in this room on Mondays and Wednesday nights and some Saturdays. And that'll be going on now through the middle of May. And then in May, we'll be conducting the state testing for that, and folks that want to challenge the test can come from other parts of the state as well and take the testing here. So we'll be pretty busy in May conducting that testing. The department, you guys approved us to apply for a FEMA grant, so we're in the process of doing that right now. What we're looking at doing with that FEMA grant is replacing the calves, the compressed air foam system on our brush truck with a slip-on unit that it's be more efficient, plus the calves, unit hasn't been working for several years. The pump still works, but the foam system doesn't work, so it's just taking up space on that truck. So we're hoping to replace that. It'll be about a $20,000 grant if we receive that. So we're hoping that happens. Recently, Brian, you received a letter from the Insurance Service Organization. Several months ago, we were re-inspected for our insurance service rating. And so that happens about every 7 years. Our current insurance service rating is a 6. We're hoping to lower that so that the insurance ratings in the community would go down. We had a new inspector this year, and I think that was part of the issue. So he, when he went through it, he was pretty quick about how he went through it, and I don't think it was very thorough. And so he ended up raising our insurance service rating from a 6 to a 7. So we have some issues with how that was done and some of the reasons they came up with that rating. So Brian and I, we wrote a letter back to them, and we're going to get involved in they call it a retrogression program, which means we can challenge that and we can make a plan to improve that. So that's what we're going to do. So the insurance service rating is not going to change for the year until we get through that process. So right now, we're hoping to keep it at a 6 or go to a 5 is what their original goal was. So we're not far off from the 6. When they bumped us to the 7, we're about 4 points off. So I think there's some things that they've missed and some things that we can challenge and that we can improve on as well. So we're going to go through that process. That's going to take us, a couple months to get through that process.
Can you put a number on what that means to the normal homeowner or the insurance?
Well, it depends on the value of the home and all that, yeah, but it can be significant. It can be a few $100s.
From 6 to 7, or we count on it.
Worth waiting for.
Yeah. And when we went, it was probably 15-20 years ago when we did the ISO inspection the first time. We were at a 9. Some places in the township were at a 10. That's the worst. And we got it down to a 7, and then we were reevaluated a few years after that, got it down to a 6, and that's what we've done for a while. So we want to certainly stay up at 6 or improve it to a 5 if possible. We're going to work on that. Stuffy ambulance is set for December 14th, and we're hoping to collect needed supplies for Threads and More, which serves county kids ages up to 18. Flyers are available with listed items at the desk up here in front, plus on our website and Facebook page. So we'll be out there on December 14th out in front of the station with the ambulance and trying to fill the back of the ambulance up with stuff that are needed for the kids in the community. A couple other things that we need to talk about. This weekend I sent you all an email. We are on the expressway for several car accidents this weekend. Sunday, I think it was Sunday night. We were out there for quite a while. We had a rollover of a full-size van with somebody trapped in it while we were working on getting that person out of the van. A young lady lost control of her vehicle and hit our ambulance. Fortunately, it was minor damage. Some trim and around the door, around the wheel well, and some things like that. But it happens. We're very careful out there. It seems we had both ambulances and 2 fire trucks because we had multiple patients and multiple rollovers. While that was going on, another vehicle went off the road on the other side of the expressway with a pickup truck, and when it went off the road, that person turned their lights off and were kind of like they didn't want to be seen. But state trooper went over there and checked on them. They were okay, but they had several felony warrants out for that person. So he didn't want to be seen on something like that. So it was an interesting weekend when we had the first snow, and as Eric knows, it keeps us busy. So, last month we talked about the drone purchase and, possibly raising that. So I sent you all a letter on that, an email. We had approved, to replace our drone for $8,000, a month or so ago. We've been watching that, the bill that's been going through the federal government on whether we can buy, basically Chinese-made electronic equipment. And there was a bill that was going out there that said we could not purchase, the federal government could not purchase DJI equipment because it's made in China. So we've been watching that bill's changed. It was tied to a military funding bill, but it's since been separated from that. And it looks like it's kind of just sitting there, and with the lame duck stuff going on, I'm not sure that's even gonna move. But then with the new administration taking over in January with tariffs and things like that, we don't know what to expect really. We've researched US made drones to do what we need them to do. And there's nothing that compares to DJI's drone as far as operations and what equipment it has on it and those kinds of things. So the email that I sent you explains all that. But in order to purchase that now, because it's been several months, we're looking at a little over $9,000. So I'd just like to have approval to spend up to $10,000. We have the funding available in our durable equipment line, and our drone replacement is on schedule, equipment replacement anyway. We just happened to have it crash last winter, and we need to replace it a little early.
Okay.
Any
Board
questions?
members, that will go to a Tuesday night motion, to approve, so we'll review it cautiously and, come prepared to. I'll make sure it's on the agenda.
Okay, yeah, if you have any questions, stop and see me, or we can talk about it tonight. Okay. The other thing on the agenda is that I submitted my retirement announcement.
Acceptable?
Yeah, for March first. I was gonna do it last year, but with the 75th anniversary and the building project and Brian retiring at about that time, I decided to hold off. And so my wife has been kind of asking me about it a lot, so I think I better take care of business. So it looks like March 1st. I've got the job description, the state requirements for fire chiefs, and the succession planning documents that we put together in our department. So whoever you want to put together on a committee to start that process, I'll be glad to sit down with them and go through that.
Okay, I don't know how you wanted to do it. I know you and I had discussed it. I know how we put ours together over there. Would you like one board member, two board members? What would be your for the makeup? And I would say, we talked about outside fire chief, talked about those kinds of things. I really would like to punt this back to you.
Okay.
And tell me whether you want one or two board members, and we can make that happen. It doesn't require board action, but we can just make it happen.
Yeah.
With that.
I've been thinking about it. I think a couple board members would be great, yeah.
Looking around is Jim Anderson in the organization chart.
I noticed that.
He was higher than Gail.
I saw that too, so that's why I submitted my resignation.
There you go. A little wise move. Everybody had been council.
Look at the future.
So Jim, if you would work with.
By default, yeah,
I
I
will,
will.
yes, and then another board member, if you'd like to raise your, no, I'm too close still too close to retirement, no, I don't want to do that.
I'm not the most qualified, but I'm willing.
You'll do it.
I don't know what qualifications I have, but I'd be happy to.
More than me.
Well, what ultimately will happen is after all the processes go through, you come to a recommendation from the board to hire whichever one it is. I can sit on it if you want to. It doesn't, I'm here full time, but it depends on you. How do you
That's like
feel
me,
about
I do
that?
too, I just don't feel like I would be the most
Sure.
qualified person to make that kind of a decision.
What should you say?
All right, I'll decide. I'll let you know.
Yeah, you decide.
Yeah.
Like I said,
I'll let you know.
I'm happy to, but Jim by default should be.
Yeah, we'll plan on Jim and I'll, we'll talk to some people and see Eric as well.
Yeah, and as I said, I just, please leave us with that, your expertise in the process by which you think we ought to be using professionally.
Yeah.
To come up with that, potential, and then, the other thing is are you doing are you limiting it to inside first before you go outside?
Well,
What's your thoughts?
that's a discussion I wanted to have with the committee, actually.
Okay, perfect, then, okay, perfect,
We've got qualified candidates internally.
okay, so you feel you do, good,
I'm pretty comfortable with that.
awesome,
When we put the officer corps together, when I took over 6.5 years ago, we planned for succession, right? And so we put that together, so people have some experiences and have an interest and, or should be in pretty good shape.
well, we sure have appreciated your leadership in this, been sad to see you go, the knowledge vacuum once again, but I am convinced, and I know that you will, you have prepared in front of me, and you'll come up with a qualified candidate along the way, so we thank you for that. I'll make sure that's on the agenda to accept your retirement letter of intent on March 1st, 2025. Fine, yeah. Fine.
Okay,
Okay, anyway, yes,
that's a retirement from the chief's position.
Yeah.
Whether I stay involved as a volunteer, paid on call firefighter or not, that'll be decided after the new chief takes over and my wife and I talk about what we want to do. So, yeah, we'll get that sorted. I would love to stay involved, but I don't want to be in the new chief's way either.
I get that.
Yeah, so we'll sort through that, but, yeah, I'm certainly not too old to not go out on a call.
Thank you. Yeah. More members, anything else?
No,
Thank you.
sorry to see you're leaving, but
Yes,
yeah,
we are.
best of luck.
I appreciate it. Been a blast.
We have, Blue update as normal on the monthly, Chairman Barlow. Okay. We're at,
Good morning, I apologize, there's no written report, we did have a meeting in December. But I was just gonna give you an update, as far as we follow up on what we've been talking about, we did go out for engineering proposals, RFQ for qualifications. We sent it to 10 different firms and we advertised in the local paper and on the Dodge reports. We've been out to a lot of people. We sent it directly to a lot of firms we know work up here, such as Wade Trims, Spicer, OHM, Gilpin's Webster. We received 3 replies back in early November. One was, of course, F&B, Lisa Vandenbrink, who was and has been working with us and worked with the township prior to that in developing the preliminary plan. Prior to Newhoff, I believe they were working on some of the parks here, and they do quite a bit of work in northern Michigan. And Corvias Infrastructure Solutions, they're more of a management type thing where they come in and will help manage the project for communities. They do a lot of work. They indicated who they would partner with would be Orchard Hills and McClements and Fishbeck Township, both looking for firms down the state. So we had set up a committee, and the committee is currently going through those firms, asking questions, getting answers, and hopefully at the January meeting, they'll be making a recommendation to the full board. And so that's where we stand on that. The other thing we've been talking about, and I've mentioned a few times, is the members coming up for, and I see that's on the agenda, so there's no reason, but I've had discussions from the supervisor and just said, we've got to be the same organized. Originally was a staggering of members here. Basically every year, this board would be appointing somebody new, have a 3-year rotation. So we want to make sure we get that back, and make sure that's being followed. So. Like, so. January 13th, and that's a Monday.
On the board, comments, questions?
This maybe, I'm gonna ask a question, maybe somebody else. Audience might be wondering the same thing, the engineering firms that you're going through this process. Is there a reason you're switching or looking to switch? Is it just to check yourself to see where you're at, to make sure you get the best one, or is there?
There is a reason, and the reason being is we received a $1 million grant. And as part of that, they want the charges that we had reviewed and
Okay,
selected.
so you're.
This is for, yeah, this is a qualification based thing. It's not a bid type thing. It's, we want to make sure they have a qualification. In doing my research back and how the original Susan Dan were selected, it was not really a good draft.
So it's possible you may end up right back with the one you had.
We could, or we could end up
Right,
change.
right, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, but it was a requirement of theirs, you know, they want us to make sure we had gone through a process of selection. And the township had done some prior, but GLU was never involved in. We were created basically 3 or 4 years after this, the sewers were started being investigated, so.
Gotcha.
It's a requirement, and we have had to work with the EPA, a designated agent, you know, setting up our request, and they'll want to see how we review it. So far, I believe you may know Susan Seaback, she's been kind of a friend for it. She tends to follow the rules right to a T.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Morgan? Thank you, Jim.
And I'll be around.
Very good. I see our fellow is, well, it's just a strange face, so I'm guessing it's a natural act now. From Gerrish Capital, come on up, sir. Introduce yourself to the board and you've been looking over your documents and then doing some due diligence with the month. And this one, you know, that's a fine.
Yeah, apologize.
So
for
your
the,
first name and last name?
Levi Truckler with
Oh, you're
Gerrish.
gonna have to spell that for our gal.
Yeah, last name is SCHREPFER.
Levi.
Yes,
Thank you.
Levi, LEVI. Apologize for the delay. Apparently I needed an extra hour to get here than I thought, but. Yeah, the Metro Act permit is a state regulated permit. It was to replace the legacy franchise agreements, I believe back in 2002 is when it was launched. It's kind of a formality in a way, but the Metro Act permit regulates communication from service providers to municipalities, just to communicate really what we're doing within the public right of way. The county road commission manages all of the road permits and manages the roads themselves, but this is really a vehicle to get tax dollars that we pay into the state back into the township. So we are taxed annually per foot of fiber optic cable that we have within the public right of way. I'm sure the treasurer sees Metro Act permit fees paid back annually from other service providers. Since we're new to this area, or new to this township for providing fiber optic service, we're required by the state to do that. On approval, I don't know what the distribution is from the state, but I do know what we pay into the state. But we encourage every municipality that we go into to take part of that, because we're going to be paying the taxes one way or another. We would rather them come back to the townships that we work with. So.
Board members?
There's probably multiple people in your same position, right? That have come to the township, or have we made this agreement with other carriers
Yeah, without looking, it's public information within the NPSC. But without going back through the history of the Metro Act permit, I can't tell you which providers, but I would suspect, you'd see Spectrum, would be one of them. Yeah,
Anybody that wants to lay cable along the right of way here has to have the same agreement in place.
yes, yeah, it's a state requirement.
So, my question is there a particular language that needs to be in this? Fulfill a municipality shall approve or deny access under this section within 45 days of the date provided filed the application.
Yeah.
Do you have a sample of resolution? Do you have have it in mind? I'm looking for it.
So this is as is from the state. So as far as any resolutions, yeah, I guess it's up to the individual townships, the majority of townships. This is probably around my 70th one of these that I've gone through in my career. And I'd say the majority of townships don't actually do a resolution. They end up signing the state as it is based off of the motion.
So you're just looking for a regular motion that says we either approve or deny that particular language.
Yes.
So you're looking for that by when, sir? It's like there's times involved here.
Yeah, I guess for us, we're working with the county to try to get permits approved by the end of the year. I think that's a little aggressive right now with the county, so we want to work with them. Brad Dahlstrom's been great to work with in Roscommon here, so the sooner the better for us, but I'm not trying to put pressure on you.
So you guys are hoping to get this project started, yeah. This winter?
Yeah, this winter for sure. For the initial build out, I guess the rest of the expansion will be going into 2025. Our initial build out, and I'd have to take a look at the roads. I'm working in a lot of municipalities right now, but the primary road that we're looking to build up is
Oh, for us, yeah, in our area. Yeah.
So you've also provided us, for the audience, there's also provided us, looks like we're an additional insured on any certificate of liability or anything that might occur. Just to be clear, the townships don't own any roads, that's why I was talking about it.
yeah.
And the road commission owns all of the road. This seems, when I read it, it was like rather innocuous here for us.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, it's, I wouldn't want to stand in the way of further broadband service for folks through fiber or anything like that.
yeah,
And at the Roscommon Townships Association meeting, I asked the question, several of the other townships have already done this.
Mhm.
So that approval is in your hands, if you will, there to move forward. Roscommon County Road Commission is represented by the local foreman, and he was familiar with the project, obviously, and also what we're trying to do by end of December. So they did provide some clarity for us to defend the DRTA and be able to work even on that. But, okay, so what you're asking from us is we either approve or deny and notify you, correct, sir?
yeah, that's correct.
And we have all property address for you to notify you. Oh, yeah, we do, they tell you.
Yep.
And we would send you, do you want an email or do you want a letter if we do it? What's it?
An email works for me. It's scanned copy of the signed Metro Act agreement is what I would need for that. It's not required for me, but I like to have everything signed on file.
Of the original Metro Act permit application,
Yes,
that's what you would like.
yes, I would like a
And
scanned copy.
signed, of course.
Yep.
Entity is you, we have to.
And then I brought with me I guess, an officially signed copy from the owner of our company with the $500 application fee check.
Okay, that'd be nice for our record.
Yes,
But I don't see anything in here where we sign this, it's done by you.
there is a page that I can.
And this is
Page 8, is that it?
It is page 13, where it requires signature from the clerk and the township supervisor.
Well, I don't have page 13. I only have page 8 with the certificate of insurance.
So there are two sections. One is the application and then one is the bilateral agreement itself.
I
I
don't,
would have
I've
that.
got a statute. And, but I don't have that document that.
Your insurance is last page. Or the next page.
Yeah.
So that we can appropriately follow through to you. Well, I'll just get the whole thing.
Then here's the application fee check. Yeah, good one.
Or you gotta give it up to us.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
sorry.
have to do the
I guess
pricing.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So the metro money that we're gonna get is only for new build, it's not for existing.
It's an annual fee paid for every foot of active
That's still there.
that's still there. So
So, and I've only been the treasurer here for days. So I don't recall, I assume we'll be getting a couple $1,000 a year.
A little bit of money comes in. so
This
that's
would
probably
probably be
not
from the
correct.
spectrum
Correct.
utilities that are in the ground. The new build that you're doing, is this part of the ARPA money project that the county had subsidized you guys to?
not this specific one. We're actually, this is part of our own expansion. We did win RDOF up by Tent Town area. So a bunch of back roads over that direction. This project is part of a collaboration with one of our other partners.
So you're in, this is be what you call an underserved area?
This initial build out, I'd say is not underserved. It does have 100 by 20 meg. But our expansion off of this will be to unserved and underserved areas. So the majority of where we are going is completely unserved. So this is just the initial build to tie into our network to get there.
Okay, any other board member have any questions? Don't do much.
Went to lunch today.
Ah,
The easy one. All right, I don't have anything further, thank you, and as always, when someone addresses the board, I want you to feel like you have to stay here for the rest of the meeting, so. Thank you, you have an offendedness if you want to step up.
Okay, well, thank you very much. You are coming today. If you have any questions, my contact information is there and there. And I can answer any, community questions about share that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Board members, do you want to move that to Tuesday? If you have enough information to.
I feel like we should, yeah, I do it.
I noted it for, a motion, on Tuesday, it's, to gain access to the public, right away, code MCL 484.3115, parents 3, and authorize the clerk to sign on behalf of the township if we so choose. Right? Okay. Moving along, cemetery updates, this was here, because we have a trustee that, is assigned it to the cemetery. And, that particular trustee did not make his reelection bid, so there is no report other than I can tell you that, Tony Guide, our part-time maintenance person, has been, busy putting in posts for the driveways and whatever to navigate, or at least to find a new section of the cemetery, which is the south west basically portion of the cemetery. It's all flat, it's all open. It's been surveyed, it's got everything squared away without any accoutrements at all regarding bushes or anything that is yet to come, obviously, as budget allows or would turn. So that would probably be the best anybody can do for cemetery this morning. Any other comments? Anybody else? They did put up their map did go up.
Mhm.
Yes.
somewhere down the road, and that's on my list. I think we need to address a cemetery trust account. Typical townships have cemeteries, they spend the money to maintain it, but they don't generate enough revenue that's accumulated to be able to pay for the longevity after that cemetery is full. And I've seen too many townships end up having cemeteries 10, 20 years down the road with broken fences and unmowed grass because they don't have any money to maintain them. And I think that as you're getting to the end of this cemetery's fulfillment, we might want to consider making sure that we're generating enough money through the fees to be able to maintain it subsequently with the funds that will derive from that, rather than the township having to subsidize it. Some future board, I won't be here, you guys probably won't be here, but I might be in it, I don't know. But it's gonna need to be maintained. So I think that's something we need to put on a long-term to-do list.
And I see my name's on there, so I agree with all that. It's, started a little bit over some ideas, some things we have to do.
Yep. Okay. All right, very good. Moving right along, we have what we've been talking about, board assignment, liaison assignment adjustments in the organizational chart. I sat down, I know with Michelle specifically, and going over what needs to be adjusted, added, or removed from one board member to another to try and balance out a little bit of the load here. And so for the board, is there anybody got any heartburn over what I may have laid out here with Michelle about your assignments? This would be the time if you wanted to swap it with any name.
Well, it's something that I don't know what, you're putting down under mine, I don't really know what that is.
What's the program, what that is it's provided for in the policy manual. If there are employees that are feeling aggrieved or otherwise, you are a board member they can go to potentially advocate, make suggestions to the board or otherwise.
Okay.
It does not manage the grievance process or anything, but it's a place for someone to go without being harmed, if you will. They're feeling harmed by a supervisor or anything else. It might be the direct supervisor, anything.
Okay,
So that's what it is.
so I might need a couch in my office.
You may need.
Okay, no.
All right, if not, what I would like to propose then is that we Tuesday approve the board liaison assignments contained in the organizational chart, which will be defined as 2025's organizational chart. Each year, we take a look at it to see if, we can move things around or otherwise, and so not with a new board, we're doing that. Are y'all good? Yes, he is. Planning commission, yes.
Yeah.
We have to appoint that ex officio because Terry was on it. And that's the board's donation to that as well. We're happy to have you. Tom Barber, I talked to him.
I'll bet.
Yeah. He was very happy to come to us as quick as. So I'm thankful to have you aboard, Jim and Jim, so look forward to your wisdom moving forward. Also, so we're on now to the formal board liaison proposal to appoint Jim Ossom as a liaison to our Gerrish Line Utility Authority in our organizational chart. I'd like to make that as a separate motion on Tuesday night. We formally do that. That is a new position for us. I look forward to having a board conduit in that piece, so that as we unroll the next item there, I think you might see how that might fit together as well, before I turn the floor over to Jim. So I'm intending to approve, obviously, what I just read to you, but I would like to formally make a motion for on Tuesday night to approve specifically Jim Austin for that role. Anybody have any partner over that?
No, appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, so while I'm writing here, then Jim, the next thing up would be your presentation of the health of Higgins Lake.
All right, just ramble on for a minute or two. Back when, over the last year or so, as I've watched what's gone on around the township, and then previous to my deciding I throw my hat in the ring for a trustee's position. Once elected that position, I realized that there's, further realized that there is a lot of stuff to be done with regard to the health of Higgins Lake. Part of it's the sewer that's been talked about. Part of it is septic ordinances. Part of it's other issues that are being generated at the lake. And I felt like I was gonna do my best to see if I could make a difference and bring together some of the various people that are involved, the board, and take a little bit different or a renewed approach to how the township government gets involved in the health of Higgins Lake. And with that, I've spent the last, since August anyway, putting together ideas and thoughts. I've read a lot of the articles that are out there. I've talked individually with board members and as many people as I can corner about their thoughts on where we are, where we're going, where we should be going, where we shouldn't be going, and have tried to put together, get those ideas on a piece of paper. And that's resulted in a PowerPoint presentation that's the way I can gather it together anyway. It's about 50 slides or something like that. And I'm not going to bore you with that, that's for sure today. But I took that and I pared that down to a much higher level, to a dozen slides or so. And I wanted to get it in front of the board early on. This is our very first meeting. We're just getting started here. And I don't yet know what everybody's opinion is about it. I just think that I've got a place to start, something we can talk about. We can take your opinions and tear this all apart, take a totally different direction. We can expand on some of the stuff that I've got in here. And then, and once we have a kind of consensus of where the board wants to go, we can take possibly more formal positions and directions on where we go from there. So with that, I sent a copy of this dozen slides or so to the board a couple days ago, and a cover letter that sort of kicked it off. I think I'm going to go ahead and read that cover letter. There's a decent audience here, and then we'll go through these slides. Keep the first one up there to help the Higgins if it's, make sure that's going to survive. Just get it into the slideshow mode. There you go, thanks. So I sent this to the board last week. Dear fellow members, we are starting a new local legislative term with some fresh faces and new challenges. I'm happy to be a part of it all. One of the biggest challenges will be the lake itself. Higgins is obviously the most significant natural resource of our community. Gerrish is a beautiful place to live and raise a family. The year-round community is small, but every year grows and is enjoyed by many seasonal residents and many more vacationers. Higgins Lake is the reason they choose to buy, build, work, rent, or vacation here, to enjoy the beauty of the lands surrounding the lake. Without it, there would be little else attracting people to the area. Visitors bringing people of all ages that shop, buy groceries, work, and play. It's also the home for the folks that provide those services, as well as a secure full-time employment here at the schools, construction, government facilities, recreational businesses. Without the lake, many of many, if not most, of these people would be at other attractive locations up north. Gone would be the part-timers as well as the jobs that support the full-timers. Student populations would shrink, teachers move on, county government could consider a different location, DNR consolidate to more populated areas. Without the beauty and cleanliness of Higgins Lake, property owners would relocate to other areas. When they leave, property values would plummet and resources dry up. The outstanding services enjoyed by Gerrish residents would be in jeopardy and potentially shrink, causing even further reduction in our ability to attract local residents. The lake is the reason we are here, full stop. By many measurements, Higgins Lake has allegedly become less than pristine. As township officials, we have a responsibility to do whatever we can to maintain the resources of our 36 square miles of God's country to keep it safe and secure to those that follow. Since being selected as a candidate in the August primary, I've been reading, writing, thinking about, discussing, and generally assembling ideas on how to step back and take a fresh look on how we might be able to make a significant impact of the overall health of Higgins Lake. That includes trying to learn from the work that has already been done over the years and applying an unbiased approach to how we can best use the information, gather new, and apply reasonable solutions that will eventually be effective. I found that there is a strong passion from several distinct organizations with an interest in the area. Some are ready to start digging a new lake-wide sewer system tomorrow. Some think the next dollar spent on a sewer system is too much. And some want to make a true measured scientific look at the needs. I land in the last category. The Gerrish Line Utility Authority's future may be fuzzy. Lion removed their support for the member at large, approved it by the previous board. Some wonder if Lion will move others from the who are leading it without the necessary authority about business. Just an update. I wrote this before Lion's board meeting last July, and they did not. They do have members supporting Blue at that last board meeting. Right now, Blue is doing a good constructive engineering work to answer questions surrounding potential sewer system and other productive projects. They have secured a grant to pay for this work, and we need to support their efforts. We as Township Board need to drive the public face to the health of the lake and use Blue to drive the technical effort as necessary. Right now, we need to support both, headed in the same direction, a healthy lake. I put together a lengthy presentation that I'm happy to share with anyone interested, as well as a much more brief, high-level talk that hopefully lays out the vision for the direction we should take as a board. I hope you view the vision as a cooperative, collaborative effort. Keep all those that are genuinely interested in the overall health of the lake to join in and lend a hand to move this effort forward. We need to tap the vast expertise, administrative, scientific, data, financial, community outreach, etc., that is all around us to help lead and turn the crank. I have no illusion that this will be an effortless walk in the park or a short-term venture. This is the first public presentation of this work, and it's intended to get your sincere and critical opinions as to the overall message and the direction that we need to take. I welcome all comments, and I really hope that you don't walk out in the middle of it. With your suggestions, I will refine the presentation and over the next weeks and months, lay out more detailed descriptions of how we may address specific components. So that kicks it off as far as I'm concerned. I seriously mean that we really need to get your critical opinions about what you feel is going to work, what's not going to work, the things that we should be doing. Just because I may mention it here in a couple of minutes doesn't mean that's where we're headed, but it's a place to start. So any questions of that so far? You guys? I guess with that, do you object to my sitting here and talk about this, or rather than want me to?
That's fine. Do you want to take a quick bathroom break at 10:05 here and come back in again?
Yeah, we're fine.
Is that okay with you? I don't want to.
Fine with me.
Okay, let's take a quick 5-minute bathroom or otherwise and open that, right? We'll reconvene. We are the.
How you doing?
Doing good. Yeah.
I'll do my best to sit right here and.
Jim, do you have a clicker?
Right.
Do you have a clicker?
I do.
Okay, cool, because
I'll hear from here.
sweet, I'm pretty limited over here on what I can do.
Yeah.
Okay, this is, kick this off with the health of Higgins as a theme. And, the next steps would be to address the long-term health of Higgins Lake. And very confusing there.
I can control it from here if you need. If you just want, you want me to move this? Am I on and on? Do you just want on slide 2?
All right, start off with, once again, like I said earlier, this is, all subject to comments and revisions and the day one. To facilitate and guide a potential mission statement, to facilitate and guide a renewed collaboration effort of stakeholders with a common interest in securing the overall health of Higgins Lake for generations to come. And first of all, go ahead. We need to identify the common ground that's out there, and I know there's a lot of it. There's a lot of, well, there's a lot of good ideas on a lot of different topics. We need to identify those ideas and bring them together in a central group. We need to search for those interested in the health of Higgins, minimize partisan conflicts. They're going to be there, but if we can keep people with good information and on the same page, hopefully we can do our best to move this forward. We want to identify a single direction on 2 parallel tracks. The Health of Higgins initiative we're talking about here, and the work that GLUA is doing. GLUA is right now in the process, as Jim said, of searching for whether they're going to change engineers or what exactly they're going to do. They have money that's been granted to them that can be available for much of the work that's laid out in here and work that they're doing that's independent of it. We need to work together. What I see is, come up again as the township board taking a overall direction for the health of Higgins, and GLUA turning the crank on all of the technical piece of it, and making sure that they're taking some direction from us on the various things we want to see happen in addition to the things that they're working on. Improved transparency is an issue that comes up often. It's been said that the board was not open enough to the folks, the community. True or not, I don't know, but we'll do our best to make sure that we're keeping the community involved, advised of the direction that we're going, the things we're working on. And identify the stakeholders, both local and statewide. Obviously, locally, there's a dozen or so organizations and individuals that are that are very interested in the health of Higgins, and that's great. That's obviously what we need. But, I'm not sure there's enough interest outside of the community. We need to gather the region and the state and even the Midwest involved in the health of this natural resource. And, I know a lot of that's been done. There's a lot of people from a lot of areas that certainly appreciate Higgins as it is. But, it's an area that I think needs to be tapped a little harder and get more people involved. New and consolidated effort. I suggest that we create I'll call it a steering committee. That steering committee made up of people from the community that have this interest, that want to truly see something go forward and drive the direction that we're going to take. There's a lot of data out there that's been gathered since the 70s, maybe 80s, 90s. There's tons of data that's out there. A lot of it is obviously old and collected under one set of parameters. More data is newer and collected under a different set of parameters. And it's hard for a layman. Certainly it's impossible for me to figure it out. I know that, but the data that was, or the condition of the lake in 1970 versus what it is today, and that trend is something that we need to see, so we can explain that to people. Because there were different parameters on some of these studies that were done, I need to try to find somebody, or we need to try to find somebody that can take those parameters and either adjust the findings and bring them onto a common set of parameters so we can start to map the trends over the years, and then be able to explain that to anybody that's interested. I think that every time we turn, there's another batch of data that needs to be considered, and I think we need to create and hold here or hold someplace a universal database that can have components in it that we can use to collect the data that we get from the old testing that was done, the new testing that's done, sewers and septics and wells and that sort of stuff. And this database can be flexible and expandable. And I know not everybody can manage this database, so it's not going to be easy, but I think it's an important thing we should consider. There are some immediate opportunities that we should take a look at. Septic ordinance, whether or not that happens right away, that's something that we should take a look at, whether we can, I'll probably get to a little bit more of it in the future in just a minute here, but road end erosion, I think I had the numbers. I think something like maybe 20 of the 80 some road ends that dump into Higgins Lake have been addressed by the road commission, and they've made a marked improvement in the way that runoff is collected and managed, but there's still more work to do. So if there's some that we can work in conjunction with the road commission to figure out ways to get those fixed, then I think that's something we should work on too. Fertilizer ordinance, I mean, it needs to be talked about. Whether or not that'll go very far, I don't know. There's smart people out there that can weigh in on whether or not a slow release fertilizer is a good solution, or a total ban on phosphorus fertilizer is a solution, or neither one, or whatever. So it's something that we should somebody should take a look at. We can need to continue to address the prospect of sewers. You can't just stop and say we're not going to do sewers anymore. We need to continue to. We have the tools to do it in GLUA, and we need to. Maybe there needs to be some redirection as to what they look at and the things they're looking at. But those are, once again, things we want to be able to provide that direction for Glue. I mean, everything that the majority of what we're doing here, 95% of what we're doing, I would say, is probably deals with the actual, the near end properties to Higgins. But, we also should keep in mind that there's the rest of the people that are in the rest of the township that are gonna be affected by what happens around here too. Whether it be taxes or whether it be, whatever, the septic ordinance should probably apply to the entire township, not just to near lake properties and that sort of thing. Probably the biggest thing of the whole presentation would be outreach to the community. We need to continue look for new ways to get this information distributed to the community, be it town halls or newsletters or whatever. We need to have a person that's good at this, that can analyze the stuff we need and get it out to the people. Once again, I hope we've got some funding available for that. I haven't broached that yet with Glue to see if that's kind of stuff, although I believe in their mandate, they've got, there's a way to work on that within some of the funds they've got. Education. It's easy, or it's hard, I guess, to go say, okay, here's a 40-page report, look through it and make up your mind what you think about the condition of the lake. That, we gotta pare this great information back down into stuff that we can all digest and understand and argue. Once again, Higgins is a regional resource. It's not, it can't be left up to 2,000 households around the perimeter of the lake to fix this problem. We've got to get other people involved. We need statewide support, and I don't know what the next 4 years, the next administration is going to bring, how much money is going to be available, what kind of funding is going to be available. On one hand, it sounds like there's not going to be money for anything, and on the other hand, people say that these projects are still, so we have to wait and see what happens. Well, here's some suggestions to get started. As I said, I'd like to see Gerrish board take the lead initially. I recommend a 5-member steering committee with representatives from interested stakeholders. I think we should probably open the positions up or try to gather a database of people that have an interest in doing this, have a committee to select this steering committee, and then go from there. This would be over the next weeks and months to make this happen. But most important, these people have got to be on the steering committee, have got to believe that the future of Higgins Lake is of the utmost importance. If that's not their motivation, they really should focus their efforts on something else, because this team has got to move forward with the best interest of the lake in mind. Obviously, they would be able to add and remove members, and they did identify common ground, get some extreme positions on the periphery. You need to be able to listen to all the opinions, listen to everybody, but a core focus has got to be the people that are working together to come to a solution. And the next one is a very high org chart. The township board would take the lead. We need representation from, that's not to be an inclusive list, but a list of all the organizations that have in one way or another, and there's more than those, no doubt, but we want everybody that has had an interest in the direction we're going to have an opportunity to weigh in on their thoughts. Gerrish would direct this Health of Higgins Lake Steering Committee, and Glue would have a representation, would have a line representation to it. Out of the committee, be a committee chair, and then as a start anyway, a batch of committees to get the ball rolling, to the actual administration of this, a data person, finance person, community outreach, and certainly a science person that can drag together the work that's been done today. And obviously, there will be more working committees after that. Stakeholder organizations. I just do this, I would recommend up to 3 names for appointments to the steering committee. That gets a little bit into the mechanics of it. Worry about that as we get down the road a little bit. Some major areas to be considered. The administrative framework is going to take some while to put that together and get to the real work. Baseline quality of the lake, I mentioned, I spoke on that just a minute ago a little bit. Maybe it's not possible, but I gotta believe that there's a way to identify the real culprits that are causing problems at the lake, and go back in time and identify how they've been tested and how they can be shown in a graphic format to how they're affecting the lake today. I think another thing we should consider would be the baseline of potable water wells throughout the township. It ties in with, it's a little broader than just the lake, but if we know the condition of water wells around the lake, and if all those water wells are pristine, crystal clear water, that's a good thing. But my guess is they're not. And where are those wells that are not that good, and how are they affected by potentially septic systems that are not that good? And maybe we can identify hotspots in areas that need to have a more immediate attention, and it may help the direction GLUA takes for their recommendations for a solution. All that baseline water well testing data would end up on the universal database that I mentioned earlier. The septic ordinance, I know that's kind of a dirty word, but depending on what shakes out of our efforts in the next few months, it may be something that we want to consider. Maybe a better way to look at it is to get inventory of the condition, of the condition of the septics throughout the township or throughout the near water area possibly, and try to find out if there are, and I know they're there, we all know they're there, it's just hard to locate them, but there are there are septics, they're not performing like they should be. They could be 80 years old now and still have had nothing done to them over the years. We really need to locate those if we can, and work with the health department and do what we can to get our arms around the size of that problem. A good way to work into that is this mapping topic that's farther down the page. The GLUA folks I just learned about this recently, I should have known about it before, but have commissioned an aerial photograph, an aerial flyover, and have created some control survey study to calibrate that information, and they're in the process of putting together a map for Gerrish Township, which is great news for the work that they eventually will want to do. But at the same time, additional layers on that mapping can help us to talk about where our problem areas are, our septic problems, our wells, and, get that information all on a consolidated map. Once we find maybe possibly on a layer of this map is, we can identify areas that appear to be where testing comes back in the lake and it appears to be a problem in a localized area. Well, if that correlates with the map, the well and septic surveys that we've done that show bad wells, then now we can really start to hone in on, where some of the problems are. And along with this, in conjunction with that, is, of course, this universal database. Data analysis. Talked about it a couple times, to assemble and analyze the data that we've had to date. If we need new testing, may or may not need that. I've put together a fair amount of thoughts on what we could do, but I need to get some folks weighing in to see if that's something that's really worthwhile or not. If so, we should commission somebody to make that happen. And once again, baseline the status of the lake in common terms. Commission a review of the data that's been assembled to date. I know there is at least one organization that has attempted to do this and started to do this, but it's been a long time coming. And I don't think there's any results from it yet. But of all the studies that are out there, once again, you can read a study and spend a day working on it and understanding it, read a different one the next day and start all over again. I'd like to think there's somebody out there that can consolidate that information and tell us in a concise form what it all means. We have a website, possibly just an expansion of our township website is the thing to do. Somebody can tell me if you think an additional website is a good idea. In any case, the communications and the community outreach are important to the success of whatever we're going to do here. Develop a septic inventory. I touched on that a while ago. If we had a draft septic ordinance that was the work to be done on that ordinance now and get some input and some opinions on how it works, it would best work and best meet our needs. Whether that includes just the kind of the near water area. I'd like to think it includes every septic in the township. And we get everybody's involved and then have that all displayed on this map. Include universal database to include the septic data, but start with this septic inventory, an inventory of where the wells are, and this mapping that's just been started or just been completed with GLUA can be expanded to include this information. And at a pretty precise location, we can locate wells and septics, get them shown on a map as tests come back, and a septic shows that it's a poor performing or underperforming or performing well. It can be color coded and put onto this map and still have information that you can really start to get a good idea for where this all stands. The sewer system, I think the sewer system is, as it's perceived right now, is a stretch. We want to work in conjunction with GLUA to refocus on what would be solutions for sewer around the lake. And it's not necessarily, I'm not saying what it is. It could be that we want to be sure that we're looking at all the alternatives and good reasoning for not considering one particular solution over another. I suppose theoretically, if you did all of this low-hanging fruit, that was the the road ends and the septic ordinance, and you got all your septic tanks up to current specifications. And you dealt with invasive species, and you dealt with all of the low-hanging fruit and things we can actually work on. And your testing was such that it could be monitored over the next few years, the next 2 years, let's say, and see that you're trending toward a solution without going for septics. Then I think that's something that would have to be looked at. If it turns out that you do deal with all of that low-hanging fruit, and we're not making any progress, I don't think you got much choice, but you're gonna have to do something with regard to a sewer system. And so in the meantime, we can't wait for 2 years to get started on that work. It's gotta get started now. Start new testing if warranted, baseline status of the lake in common terms. I guess through that on page. Revisit technologies with regard to a sewer system, revisit technologies. I was on a call yesterday, a very informative call yesterday. I learned a lot. There's a lot to be learned about what's been done to date, what's out there, what works, what allegedly doesn't work. And people need to have, need to have this education. They need to know what's going on. This RFP is being worked on by GUA now, and I think they're going to see some nice results out of that. And my personal opinion is, written in here, is that the existing special assessment district is not what we really need as written right now. I think the board should consider removing ourselves from that SAD, and with the intention of eventually there will be one. That would be my guess, unless these other low-hanging fruit were to turn out to be a solution. But I think we need to set that aside, step back without that encumberment of the SAD that's out there, and move forward. So in summary, we need a steering committee formed by the township board. We need to evaluate the data to date and start additional testing. We need to do what we can now, which is a septic inventory, fertilizer ordinance, possibly road ends, mapping, etc. Community education and outreach, and provide guidance to GLUA. In the next months and weeks, we need to develop and finalize a master plan, an approach to the direction we're going to take. And I finished that up with a graphic that would hopefully is understood that we're on a couple of parallel tracks here, and we're marching toward the continued health of Higgins Lake. There's a GLUA track, and there's a Gerrish Township track, and it's not lost on me that the Gerrish track is slightly ahead of the GLUA track. We need to make sure that we are out in front of what goes on. But we all need to be headed in the same direction. And I think you'd all agree, I hope you all agree, that to do nothing is not an option. We've got to do something to keep moving this forward. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
And like I said, I'm interested in your comments. I'd like to notes pages that you are certainly welcome to scribble on and get back to me.
Board members, any thought on the steering committee idea and so are there any personal feelings there?
Thank you for all the work you put into this, Jim. Yeah, it looks encouraging.
So
Hey, to have a focus of the options that we can make happen now, and to get people back working together as a whole, and it's the direction we need to go.
Mary? Jim one, Jim two.
Jim A. Yeah, I do appreciate the work you put in this, and I've had conversations with Jim on all summer. I didn't run for this position because of this issue. I ran because of my abilities to be able to do what I need to in that office. But this is on my lap as one of your board members. One thing that didn't come out specifically today was the fact that part of this lake is surrounded by another township. And I think that, you know, at some point we need to try to collaborate with Lion. I know they got a new board. I know that most of them ran on the premise of no sewer. But I think that there has been some thought that, okay, it's not that, do we care about the lake? And I think what we gotta, if everybody in this room said, I care about the lake, then they take that next step, which is kind of what you're saying here. We all have to come to agreement, do we care about the lake? If you don't care about the lake, if you think there's nothing wrong with that lake, then I guess you don't have a place on that steering committee or, and like, I don't get on the lake much. But I can see the difference over the last number of years, the stuff floating in it. And the more information I've heard, the less I realize I know. And I think there's a lot of opinions out there that aren't necessarily based on the science behind it, or that's their own interpretation of the science. And I think that we need to get a more agreed upon test method and baseline that we can all measure the results of, and then it's irrefutable at that point of what they are. Now, what the cause and effect is, I'm an accountant, not an engineer, but even with the septics, if they're working properly, they're still probably nitrates that are getting into the water. It's a question of how much you're gonna cut it down, but then again, that's what will come out of this, as you said. So I think this is a great start. I think we gotta do something, and doing nothing isn't an option, just like you said.
Yeah, it's a good point about Lion. I mean, Lion, I didn't mention anything about Lion. I mean, that's my fault, but Lion, I think Lion says they want to do something about the lake. But it remains to be seen what their direction will be, at least for me anyway. I've been at the last couple of their board meetings, and they're just getting their feet wet, they're just getting started, and so I think we'll see. But like I said, they got started a little earlier on it, and we're just a little further along, and this is what I think our board should do.
I fall in the same category as Jim Anderson. Obviously, there's been kind of discussions amongst with Jim, possibly, and Jim's qualifications certainly precede themselves, and I do concur that what I have found, when I came in, I said, man, let me look at these studies, let me understand these studies, let me try and put them together, let me compare and contrast and do whatever. And at the end of the day, I was left with, look, there's low to moderate numbers. If you throw out a high, you throw out a low. I would dispute anybody saying that doing simply nothing would be an answer. Clearly, we've got some changing pieces. And everybody that I've met on all the sides of the argument, in the perception of fluid, all of them has been about the out passion everybody does. And everybody says that they just didn't think it was transparent. They felt it was moved along, without proper diligence. essentially. Of course, the forcing me then, of course, to look at the articles of incorporations to see how was the organization created? What did it say? What is its mission? And Barnwell constantly reminds me the mission is the technical piece of moving towards a sewer. And by that, it does say that. It is a organization that goes and moves towards the end goal that is sewer. And in between all of that was the thing I think Jim was bringing up, there's a political and perceptive side to this. And it should have been run on some kind of dual track. It was hard to get a grasp as a incoming board member as to exactly how we got to where we are today with what you've brought up and talked to today. So I certainly am very supportive of a committee. And with that, I would say to you as a person that makes things, that get out of table, if you will, you have a timeline in mind in which you'd like this board to entertain your suggested committee and authorize it and to be the 5 people you recommended, and then let you all figure out the chair once you all get together and do those things. What's your thoughts?
Well, maybe the notion of the board so desires, and I don't know if it takes a board notion, I think it probably does take a board activity, that at the next available time slot, either it's next week or it's the following board meeting, but to acknowledge the notion of creating a committee. And we'll have to start soliciting for people that are interested and see how fast that candidate pool fills up and then go from there.
So what about a motion to create a 5-member steering committee to be named as Health and Paynes Lake Steering Committee?
You're president, or is that?
And I'm just trying to get clarification. Obviously, now a little further on the agenda, we've got to bring some order and sense to how appointments are done. When it comes to just our regular committees, planning commission, or otherwise, this becomes an authorized steering committee by Gerrish Township. And so therefore, we would want to follow that same committee, but put in your letter of, I shouldn't say letter of interest, it'll be a small application if you all approve that. That would go with that appointments policy. So how we should do that?
Theoretically, looking for people that are interested in helping the lake, regardless of where they come from, but. Part of me says it's open to anybody that has big applications from anybody that has an interest in them. So, there's rather than somebody from Lyon Township that is a heck of a, data person or something that really has the passion for wanting to see the lake.
So, using our appointment policy and application to openly select the 5 seats. The designated 5 seats. Probably good.
Don't we already have a precedent that's the planning commission can accept?
By statute, the supervisor is the planning commission and board of review only.
No, I meant the planning commission isn't restricted to Gerrish Township only. You might.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It is.
Yeah.
Gerrish Township.
Well, that's a Gerrish Township planning.
Yeah.
That's the overall statement. Is this a Gerrish Township committee only? Is this it's our committee, but are we going to, this is where you have a zillion different organizations and a zillion different thought processes. The only thing I'm interested in is I don't want fringes of either side of the highly passionate argument, or you go nowhere. I guess plainly said.
And I guess my thought is this is a start.
Yes.
First of all, steering committee means that they're recommending to this board.
Right.
This board is ultimately gonna have to say yay, nay, on whatever it is that they're recommending. And the financial burden will be on this township unless there's new money that comes in and you create a separate fund, but it's still going to be under the umbrella of the township. And this may evolve, or you may want it to evolve. Let's say that, let's say the Lyon Township decides that they want to do something very similar to what we're doing, like your idea, maybe they got one they've already been working on. The question then, well, you got two steering committees from two townships, or do we consolidate? And at that point, maybe make it a 7-member.
Yeah.
But then that means that it's going to be reporting to 2 boards. And then you're talking about how to deal with the financial burden and so on. I think to start, you want to go with the 5, concentrate on Gerrish's ownership of portion of the lake. You're talking about policies that are septic, let's say. It would be nice if we could do something in conjunction with Lyon Township, but it may, depending on what direction they're going or how fast they're going, that may not occur. So we might be setting a precedent on our side with that to follow on their side. So this could evolve. And I just think to start with, I think this is the way to do it. I think we need to concentrate at this point with Gerrish's portion of it.
So the motion to create the 5-member steering committee to be named as the Health and Hidden Lake Steering Committee using our appointment policy and application to ultimately select designated 5 seats make up. I'll reword it, but designated 5 seats make up all of Gerrish Township applicants, Gerrish Township constituency. Well, how would you like to word that? Gerrish Township, we'll figure that out later. We don't need to take one more time up this morning. Are you guys interested in doing that as soon as Tuesday the 10th? Yeah?
So you're in the fight.
Or you want to let it ruminate for till January, or you want to do
The
it?
notion of getting the steering committee established by the board is, there's no reason to wait. I don't think,
I
it
can-
take some time to kick it off and get it going too, so.
I concur. And I think, Jim, if it could, like spread out or have to morph, and I'm hoping that we could have a Lyon Township at the table. But that remains open yet. They have an entire changeover on board, it appears, and I'm sure that their hands are full with the daily operations as well, so. It might take them longer to, I guess, pick up
We
and.
talked about that outreach to them.
Okay,
And I know you said something about, Ryan, you said something, getting hold of Supervisor Bertram.
yeah, after the meeting on December 10th, once our board kind of sets this path and tone here, I'm gonna try and reach out and see if I can meet with my counterpart in Lyon and see where things are truly at. And right now, it's been a moving target, so.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks for your time.
yeah, anybody else got anything else going on there? Okay. This, number 10, this discuss the replacement of the Galula at-large appointment for the term ending March 31st of 2025. On October 16th, 7:49 in the morning, I still have a document before me that, we're from Galula, and Jim Barnwell as the chair, recommending and, in review of the articles of incorporation, Galula recommends this particular position. We, as a board, don't have a process, if you will. And Mr. James Kaufman was recommended as this at-large position, half Gerrish, half Lyon. I think we're all aware that Lyon came in and rescinded that their half, if you will, of James Kaufman, who was appointed during a lame duck session by the outgoing board. That's why I didn't want to do that. I wanted to see what the new board would think. So that being said, that is still on our plate. I'm checking with Jim Barnwell. That is still a valid request from the Google board from its obviously previous meetings. It hasn't had any in between, correct, Jim?
Correct.
Okay. And so we have to address that. Reach out to Jim Kaufman and I know that he has come in. I've personally seen him. I know that he's had an opportunity to personally see each other other board members as well. He was interested enough. He came into our township office and to get some one-on-ones, which I'm appreciative of, and I thank Jim Barnwell for at least, opening up that opportunity. The previous month, I didn't know who he was per se, or anything about him, but just. That being said, folks, we need to act on this at-large appointment for Jim Kaufman as recommended by the GLUA board. And is that something you all wish to do Tuesday? Yep.
In regards to Mr. Kaufman or a little bit of his background or anything.
I read it at the last.
No, I meant for.
Fully outward, he has a financial background as a CPA. And certainly I did not detect any tones from the man that it was, I'm just gonna call it a sewer or bus philosophy. It was a very open concept to look at anything and everything, if you will, there in between or otherwise. I didn't see that he would directly be a problem on a fringe, if you will, from it. And so personally myself, I don't have a problem with Mr. Kaufman. I think he has the ability to certainly give a level head. I didn't get any impressions of when I had talked to him, I just why anybody would want to insert themselves in that position would be quite honest. And I think he was very honest with me with his response. And I think he was genuine. He was very in tune as to where the situation is, whether it's perceptively, politically. He's not walking into this blindsided, but he's also not walking into it on a mission either. It's a wanting to serve and believe he has a skill set. So that was my impression. Anybody else want to give an impression?
That was my impression also.
I agree. I talked to him for a while. He's well qualified, that's a great spot.
Highly qualified.
Okay.
Good temper.
The next thing is board governance policies. I have been working for the last few months actually on some board governance policies. Most of them in reaction to what I found when I got here. And quite simply found that the board bylaws are not something you generally find in townships, apparently. I've served on many other boards and are driven by bylaws and whatever. So I'm just kind of working through the weeds and I drafted and sent each of you board members for your review over the month. Proposed board ethics policy, a conflict of interest policy, and an appointments policy. And then lastly, the ACH and electronic transactions and a resolution for a board meeting for Tuesday nights. So the appointments policy in particular, if you guys look at that, one's probably the one that I'm most concerned about a timely piece, because in looking also at our other boards, there are some other necessary appointments, including we have to discuss the board positions for GLUA and Gerrish Township. And per the articles, they need to be properly staggered, and they never have been. And so I met with Jim Barnwell and we've identified those positions. And then, of course, have determined where those would go, if you will, with appointments. And there's two that would be up for positions are those occupied by Phil Check and Bill Lamb at this point. And so they'll need to be addressed. And when I say that, that is, those three sides of that portion of law are up to the township board to advertise for, select, and then decide amongst the board what to do, whether, and if Mr. Check and Mr. Lamb would like to reapply, if you will, under my new appointments and policy and application in many areas. Don't go crazy, folks. It's not it's just not a huge one. It's intended to be used for every appointment as it would come up in the future for committees, commissions, those things that aren't dictated by statute. So I guess I bring those to you and I would say to you all, where do you want to go? And look, what I see the most important, there's two of them, most important, like act is the ACH electronic transactions and a resolution for a board meeting. Since I've got here, I've been refereeing a battle between the old treasurer and the clerk's office over who does do ACH transfers, which are electronic stuff. Well, it's rooted in statute. I've done my research on it, and the treasurer's office is the correct place for the ACHs. And there is a resolution rated in the statute that should have been adopted a long time ago to make that happen. So that one I would definitely like to get moving on to the next board meeting as well. And then I really think if we're gonna get a committee, I don't want to see us advertising for anybody until we're advertising apples to apples with the same piece. So if you have changes to that or otherwise, I'd really like to get that moving for Tuesday, those two. The other board ethics and conflict of interest are very boilerplate. As to where I get all my policy stuff, I've obviously been writing policy for years for the police department, but you know, MML, MMR, every insurance company you can think has them and you have access to those things. And of course, other townships, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so I kind of put together what would be applicable here for our township. So thoughts?
I read through these last night. I don't have a problem with any of them.
Right.
And I believe that we're able to work through the ACH statutes without too much hiccups between the two offices. It doesn't,
Yes.
it doesn't really say that I have to do every one of them. I have to oversee them.
Correct.
One of the biggest ones that probably gets done consistently, like when you do the EFT payments for the IRS, I've already been doing the state of Michigan ones for you that from this consulting. So the I have no problem. I have no problem with any of the wording, any of this at this point.
What do you have?
No, I read through them. I didn't, they all look.
Application look okay?
Yeah.
That's good.
Kudos applications I'm gonna throw out. Susan Seamak might even be a I want to thank her. She's gonna be working through the planning commission. We have a planning commission that's authorized for 7. A supervisor and 6 others, and we're supposed to meet at night, and it meets during the day, and 9 people on it already. And so this board needs to.
Oh, Parks and Recs.
I'm sorry, Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Parks and Rec. And so Susan put together some, I think, very relevant questions and with it, that should not plagiarize. As well as that, a couple of things we need for our legalities on those applications. So, okay, I will create the motions and we'll adopt all 4 of them separately for Tuesday, and it will go for Tuesday night. So we can move on with that stuff. I would encourage any other board member, if you find in your readings of our policy manual, and there's nothing until now about board governance. If there are some things you can think about board governance, then let me know, and we can look into creating other ones to help guide future board members coming in. Jim?
Your appointments and employees.
Yes.
Chart here needs to have cemetery added to it, maybe?
There's no board that governs the cemetery, we do.
No.
And you're now, I think, the liaison. Okay. I mean, if in the future there becomes.
create a committee.
But yeah, I don't really want to create more hierarchy than I need to. Okay, so with that, I guess number 12 kind of takes care of itself. Once we adopt that on the 10th, we can put out something that opens those. There's 2 positions open. Mr. Barnwell's position comes due March 31st of 2025, and we'll open that in a future session. But there'll be Phil and Mr. Lamb's position. And of course, obviously, they can reapply.
Yeah.
Or whatever, that's one thing. Okay, so that took care of 12. 13, I also would like to propose a formal finance committee. That just entails the clerk and the treasurers, filling in those rules to seamlessly work. When I got here, there was no mandates for anybody to seamlessly work together, whether it was payroll, whether it was anything, and what ensued was something I don't ever intend to go through again, so. And I think we need to make the committee so that ultimately future treasurers, clerks know that it is incumbent upon you with that. We can't run to the four sides of the building and stop working with each other. I'm sorry, I have to put it that way, but
Yeah, I got it.
I'm sorry.
I actually,
you're gonna be fine. I know.
if you follow the statute, I
Yes.
don't know if we really need to create a formal committee, because the fact that what we've already changed is that when the checks come over for me to be signed, my deputy now is going through the bills, because Lynn and Michelle are providing us all the supporting documents with each of those checks before we countersign them. So she's looking at them over, which is, I'm doing that partly for training purposes for her. And then I'm looking at them, and I think that's what you're looking for, is you want my eyes and
Yes.
approval before I sign those checks.
Yeah,
So in essence, and that's what's supposed to happen.
it's good business.
Well, that's statutorily, that's what's
That is
supposed to happen.
correct.
I should not be signing a check unless I've looked at the supporting documents for it. So you could do a formal committee if you like, but I don't know.
Statute didn't seem to bother the last situation.
Well, I don't say.
What I'm looking to do, what I'm looking to do is, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's about
It's the
those
process.
positions in the future and a proper onboarding orientation of board members that come in. So, and you're in those jobs, that you understand this is incumbent upon you. This is not something you decide to do or you don't do. This is something you do.
Yeah.
Without getting the statutes involved and, quite simply going out there and I guess giving people criminal records or attempting to get them to understand they must do those things.
We could do a resolution to the fact that basically that adopting that process, if you want. I don't know. It's
up to you guys.
Again, I know what the setting you're coming from. I don't foresee anywhere in the near future.
Because
Nobody foresaw it before.
But again,
I suspect if
This
you went
wouldn't
back
fix it
3
either.
years from now, that wasn't an issue back then. I think it goes in the
Becomes
last.
people, but remember, you need only be 18 years old, win a popularity contest and win
Well,
a township, suddenly you become a treasurer.
If that's the case, there would be a whole lot of issues that probably follow.
It probably is.
That was, but I just want to let you know that that's currently not an issue.
No, I know that.
But
From
so,
day one, I know that.
yeah,
So your thoughts, ruminate on it. We don't have to do it Tuesday night. Ruminate on it if you want. I'll research the proper language and we'll do it. That's up to the board. I'm a 1/5 and I keep trying to make people believe that.
but I will, address something that's got to do with SCHs and the bills, okay? If you look at, I'll give you an example, Roscommon County has 2 types of bills, and it's called the AB system, and so one set of bills would be bills that have to be paid because of the time, like consumers, the phone bill.
Yep.
You can't wait to the order, and so those would be called the A bills, and then the B bills are ones that they go through the process of being approved before they are paid. And you want to make the A bills the exception. You don't want to fall into a trap where you just start doing it because it's convenient. And so if we were going to do some sort of resolution, I would say we should make it comprehensive, include that language in there.
Would you do that?
we do that.
Would you do that?
We.
I know you already do it, but
We do
there's,
that
I don't
every
think
year.
there's a, I don't think there's a,
We do it at the annual, meeting. It gives the clerk.
Oh, are you
And
identifying?
the treasurer, the apost, or anything that needs to be, like you were defining it, maybe an A bill.
Yeah.
That's got it by date and whatever. That has been done each year, at the annual, meeting.
That's what
But-
allows us
but I'm not-
to do it like we do.
well, I might be the time to address this other issue then if you want to.
Yeah, could you do some language for that?
Yeah, I'll take a look.
All right, thank you. All right. Moving along, I've received Mary Jo sits as a zoning board of appeals alternate. As a trustee, but it's not an ex officio position, meaning it doesn't have to be a township board member. And so I have a letter of resignation that we have to accept at the meeting Tuesday night. And then I also have a letter from the outgoing trustee Terry Newton, who has an interest and certainly an experience with that. However, that position expires December 31st, 24, and it meets very rarely. And I'd like to subject that as well. That's not a township supervisor responsibility, just to appoint on that board. So I would like to make sure that in consistency that we're doing that with Terry can put in his application, once we get this policy in place. And we can do that in January. Fair enough? Yep. So all we'll do is accept Mary Jo's resignation, and then once we open it, Terry can reapply or anyone else can reapply appropriately. Number 15, Michelle and I spent 2 days, yes, days,
Complete things.
complete days on the township general budget for expenditures for 25-26. And I'm endeavoring to put some budget assumption pieces together so board members know what exactly each line is predicated on. There was not a model of that when I got here. It wasn't at my PD either, but we did it, and it makes budgeting much easier in the future. It's expenses only, so I do want to set our first budget work session to discuss the budget construction for expenses only, because you're still getting a handle on all the revenue pieces for us. So I'd like to do that before we leave for Christmas break. December 20th is the last day in the office, and through January 2nd is what it will be for closure. So can you guys get your books out and see what you all might want to throw out for a budget work session only.
Are you ready?
I'm ready for somebody to throw something.
No, I mean, are you ready? Like,
I'll be,
if I say tomorrow?
yeah, I'm not ready tomorrow. I'd like to get it maybe just before the 20th. If you can give me a week to get it all put into something that's you can look at and understand.
I'm good on that week.
Same.
Are we talking the week of 16th?
The week of the 16th, yes, sir. I have like nothing on my calendar on the 19th right now. The 19th is Thursday. Yeah,
Yeah, I think I can do that.
well, it could be anytime during the day, afternoon, whatever you want. I don't like evenings because I'm spending more than enough time here already, more than I anticipated I would be spending.
Will that work for everybody?
During the day tonight.
Yeah,
It will give you some times.
as long as it's morning or after 2 o'clock.
9 a.m.,
Okay, that works.
9 a.m. the 19th. No, yes,
Yes.
Yeah,
9 o'clock a.m. the 19th. And it will be budget work session for only expenses. And then I think you'll understand the task ahead of us, folks. All right, we'll set that I'll send out invitations to that, and Michelle, you'll handle any of the open meet or the meetings notice.
We're talking about things,
Oh, yeah, you got that.
we were talking about the work session is actually on the 2nd when we come back.
And nobody will have
So we
anything.
will not have been here for that Christmas break. and then we come back day one, so looking to maybe move that work session to the
Ninth.
ninth. And then the meeting would be on the
Ninth.
meeting would still be the same,
At
yes.
9 o'clock AM, and then our regular meeting would be as scheduled anyways on the 14th.
What do you guys thoughts on that? I think there's a momentum we're gonna try to keep. I don't think we want to just jump into a work session without having had that time.
I don't. Because there's a full 10 days that
Right.
stuff rolls into my office for work session.
Right.
4 or 5 days before. I'm trying to get it out to 7. If anybody has business 7, it's not like.
All right, so we'll move that, no.
You guys good with that?
It's still the ninth, right?
It'll be January 9th at 9 for
Work
that
session.
one. And then we will have
It'll still
a
be the 7th.
December 19th, 9 AM budget work session. The other one will be the regular work session, all right? I do not want to go any further without acknowledging Parks and Recs. Susan, I see her up there, I see the screen on Zoom, but she did send us a nice detailed piece here, and so I'm going to the Parks and Recs update. So as you all know, we've all been doing, or she's been doing work with the construction elements with the down at the Gerrish Township Cardinals. And the expectation was to be complete at the end of this week, December 6th. The elements that are still in progress is we have to install the handicap parking signs, add handle to spinner play equipment, finish boardwalk extension, complete installing of the ceiling, install recessed lighting, 4 sides each side, clean the entire interior, paint the floor, and paint the door and trim. And of course, given the cold weather, the bathroom doors will be painted at the contractor's shop. And when those are removed, the opening will be covered with visqueen and interior heated. And that will allow for painting of the door trims and floors. Once he gets those done, she wants to thank Jim also. Jim, I know she talked to him and asked him to kind of keep an eye on it because they're sunning themselves in Florida. It'll be on a day like today, you're gonna be real glad and understand why you did. And then, of course, as a reminder, the project elements that have already been completed with the installation of large play structure, surface and the surfacing, installation of play spinner, and the surfacing with boardwalk extension, relining the parking lot, painting exterior of the bathroom building, new plumbing, installing the fixtures, install dividers, winterizing pipes, plus adding a bench and a picnic table in the fence section. So obviously, if any board member has any questions, reach out to her. She does a wonderful job on behalf of our Parks and Recs, and we wouldn't have had even a portion of this money had she not stepped up and looked at this grant. So thank you, Jim, thank you, Susan. I don't know whether you can see me, but thank you very much. So we're now at the point where I'm willing to take some public comments. And anything you may have heard today or otherwise, or anything that's on your mind, or what brought you out to this morning's meeting in the snow and wind? Anyone? Go, come on up, Phil, and formally, will you spell your last name for?
Check, CZECH.
Okay, thank you. Go.
So I'd like to do 3 things. I'd like to compliment, recommend, and suggest. So, Chief Hill, or not Chief, Supervisor Hill.
Just Brian's fine.
Brian, I'd like to compliment you. I've heard you before. You did so much work catching up today. I can't believe all the stuff you know in such a short period of time. And I'd like to compliment the new board. What a great discussion, what respect. And you do a good job. And the next thing I do like to do is recommend. I was at the Lyon Township meeting, and they let go a real good person. His name is Harry Johnson. He's very professional. He ran for supervisor against Larry Maduri, and the 2 of them worked together so well. Harry Johnson was the ordinance officer, and he's also the volunteer fire person too. So he brings a lot to the table, quite frankly. And the last thing I'd like to do is suggest, this is a pet project of mine. And that is, one of the low hanging fruit that we have as far as sewers and pollution and that sort of thing. I believe is Treasure Island. I strongly believe that. Let me just start out by saying they've never had their septic tanks pumped, period. None of them. All the liquids that's being, coming from their tank is going directly into the lake. It can't go anywhere else. It's surrounded by the lake. So it doesn't matter which direction the water flows, it's going into the lake. I've contacted both Sergeant and Scott, and they're willing to pump tanks over there. There's nothing holding them up at all. I've contacted EPA, I've contacted Eagle, I contacted the DNR. There's no regulations that have to be, there's no permission that we have to do. As far as EPA, it's something that they're involved in all over the state. There's plenty of islands in the Great Lakes. There's no permits that they have to pull at all. Scott has looked into it. They're more than willing to pump those tanks, but they can't get anybody on the island to agree to do it. So I would like to suggest.
The association, is it they approach the association, anybody approach them?
I think,
They have a group of.
yeah.
Okay.
But no individual wants to pay to get their tank pumped.
Is there, when you, in your investigation with Scott's and with,
Sergeant.
yeah, thank you. Is there like an extravagant fee being charged because they gotta get?
There would be if there was only one individual that they do per at a time. But if they got Scott told me if they've got
One
3 or
day.
4,
Yeah.
it would be feasible to do financial. They don't want to do it though. The residents. won't
When
do
you
it.
say they, who are they and what?
Nobody's does it. Nobody has stepped forward to.
Okay, but
say-
so in other words, you're asking the township to contact the treasurer island?
No, I just want to tell you the situation
Okay.
before I make my suggestion.
Okay.
Okay, so my suggestion is, I'd like to see a grinder pump system put in to serve the island, pump it over to the mainland and have a holding tank. Complete project. That holding tank would then be pumped out like the Scots or Sergeant normally. Okay. So I'd like to see you look into that as a temporary thing. That would be helpful to GUA or to a sewer system. Because what we found out is biting off too much, you don't get it done. If you did a little chunk, then you could expand the sewer system, then you could approach people in Lansing and Washington and ask for funding for the rest of it. But just to go out to Washington and Lansing asking for $115 million, it ain't gonna work. We found that before.
It's not realistic.
So to start out with a small step would be very helpful. And to me, that is the big source of the problem, one of the big sources, at least of the problem. And they've taken no action to resolve it again. So, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I have no idea. And if there's anybody in the audience know what the Treasure Island Association is, you can contact them, approach them about a low level. I call it a low level approach, give them pulse first. Yeah, negative for each day that we're trying to figure out bigger solutions. And that I think is one of the elements that I guess bothers me the most. Yeah, we didn't think about mitigative while we're working towards if it has to be a larger piece. So thanks, Phil. Appreciate that. Anybody else in the public want to make any comments? All right, there Joe, parting comment? Oh, you wanted to discuss. You sent you did send an email to me. You wanted to discuss
Sandy?
the sign piece.
Oh, yeah, that's.
You know,
yeah.
Terry brought it up at the last time,
Right.
and I will tell you that I think that the best thing for us to do on that is at our budget work session for expenses, we can visit that.
Okay.
Currently, right now, our revenue pieces are still being put together by Jim internally here. That's why I have chosen to separate expenses from the revenue pieces, and we'll come back and attack it all together once we know those pieces.
Okay.
So I see that as a, you know, that's a future thing for the township, but certainly we can bring it up. What she's talking to, what Terry Newton does, the outgoing trustee, had said, we had put a 4x8 sign over on the police department because everybody thought we were the town hall at one point. So we put that on the side that facing here. They faced the building towards County Road 100, which was kind of counterproductive at the time, but they did it anyways. But at the end of the day, the fire department then put a next 4x8 that delineates their side of the building, and Terry thought that there should be that same look here as you walk up our main office, and so they know they have the township, if you will, the further delineation. So that's a cost item, not budgeted anywhere for right now, obviously, and not an exigent, but yet worth talking about it. Will that help you?
Oh,
And I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
You heard and the other one you had was an Arcana, and I'll work with Chief Mashinsky and Georgie to get that accomplished.
All right.
Okay.
I have one more.
One more.
Some kind of acknowledgement to Sandy, fine, for her 14 years of service. I don't know what we want to do, even if it's just, you know, have her over here for a luncheon or give her a gift or two, some kind of acknowledgement. You know, 14 years is a long time, and she only hung in there the last couple out of her dedication to our community. That was not easy for her.
And then I had that written down on my slide as well.
Good.
Sandy never worked for me, but I worked with Sandy over the last couple of years. Well, actually, when I was the auditor, worked with her. And although, you know, I brought in my own deputy, I don't know if the protocol's been here in the past. I realize she's a deputy of the treasurer, but the treasurer didn't acknowledge that. And I agree with you. I think that she's put 14 years in here and that somehow it should be recognized for her time here and the good job that she did.
On the dedication. It's the dedicated person.
In the past, I think they've done some luncheons.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, township hall. And then, of course, you know, the board would like to do something else, plaque-wise or otherwise. Recognizing the service.
Yeah.
Okay.
So would it be like, you want me to start planning something?
Pardon?
You want me to start planning something? Is everybody on board for something to happen or?
Listen, if anybody else can do plan, I'm gonna tell you the same thing I told Michelle. I'm more than willing to donate money. My plate is awful full.
Right,
It's a plan,
Yeah.
and,
not asking.
so if you've got the moments and
Yeah.
you've got the energy and maybe work with Michelle or something.
Is that something
She
you don't
likes
like to
that kind of
see?
stuff.
And I don't know, maybe, I don't know if she's interested in having a luncheon.
I don't know.
I just think that we need to
Yes.
formally recognize her, whether it's we pool our personal money or do something nice for her.
Well, if you're gonna do a plaque, you have to do that. You can't use public funds to do that.
You're talking to an auditor, man.
Just
I would write you up for that.
telling you, I couldn't even get a turkey in about 42 years.
Unless it's a safety flag. You can.
I couldn't even get a turkey, man. Yeah, would you like to work on that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Is there any?
Michelle? Party comment? Jim Osson first.
I am good, thanks.
Yeah.
Something else.
I'm gonna do a report for Tuesday night as you do your treasurer's report, but I will just let you know, tax bills got out this week. So hooray for that, and we are, setting up new processes. Cogitate's loaded on my computer and my deputies now, so we are now doing one of the receipts directly into the system instead of the convoluted way it was being done before. So there's changes happening, and I think they're really good. And from the outside standpoint, you might not even notice it, but that's why Michelle's smiling, because the things are starting to flip along a little better.
Okay, for me, I still don't have a kind of read only, which I'd like to have. With budget, I just would like to, I didn't want to do it because your guys' names are more important. Mine are read only, so I can run look at budget and reports and things like that. I'm not putting figures in and out, but I've never had access to a budget that I've never, that my statute hasn't turned up.
One, maybe, sometime shortly, you and I can get together, let's just kind of call them and they can't take
That's
out.
fine. It's not a big deal. Wasn't meant to be criticism for otherwise. Just changes are happening. I appreciate, I like the environment that we have in our township building right now. I think we get some synergy and I think we can, move and professionally move along, and for that, I appreciate it when I get caught in the everyday muck and mire. And so from my perspective, I'm happy about that. Okay, if there's no further business, before the board, then we'll take a motion to adjourn at 11:22.
I made that motion.
Moved by trustee Hoppy, anybody support?
Support.
Clerk Squires, any further discussion? All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, those the same, motion carries. Thank you everyone for coming.